Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Welsh Republic podcast, episode 167 today. And I am here with my guest, Fiona. How are you doing today? And hi, Maria. How are you?
Все круто. Спасибо, что позвали.
Everything's great. Thank you for inviting.
So, Fiona, how has your day been? What have you been up to today? Anything much?
Такого школа, обучение. Училась.
Well, nothing really special, just school.
So, Faina, it's like I said, it's an incredible honor to have you on my show. Your bravery is truly inspirational. Let's start with the root. What encouraged your passion to become a journalist, and how did you realize that you could expose Ukraine's aggression against Donbass?
Вообще, изначально я начинала писать рассказы о животных, потом все перешло к тому, что уже с этим бэкграундом начала писать эссе на военную тематику, и их начали замечать, переводить. Я поняла, что люди не особо разбираются в ситуации на Донбассе. Поэтому начала писать какие-либо посты на эту тему, брать интервью, а потом пошли обращения, и вот начала тему эту освещать.
Well, initially it started with just stories about animals, and then it developed into various essays on military subject, on the subject of war. And those essays got noticed. Then it became clear that people don't really have any idea of what's going on in Donbass, about the whole situation. So it continued with posts, with interviews, and eventually with addresses to organizations and important people of the world.
I know that in your 2021 UN video appeal, you were sending a video to the UN exposing the violence that was going on in Donbass and eastern Ukraine that the Ukrainian Nazis were doing. Did you get a lot of good response from that or no?
Какого-то конкретного ответа не было, война не закончилась, как я хотела тогда. И, в принципе, обычные люди поддержали.
There was no real feedback. The war didn't end like she wanted at the time. Just normal, common people supported her.
You lived through the relentless shelling that happened in Lugansk. Can you share how these moments of fear and survival fueled your resolute to expose their crimes in your writing?
Ну, я стараюсь писать о войне только в эссе, на военную тематику, журналистика, вот именно там. Какие-либо книги, романы, сказки, я тему это не упоминаю.
I'm only trying to write about war in my essays. When it comes to stories, fairy tales, plays, I'm not mentioning these things.
What inspired you to become a journalist?
Мне кажется, изначально все началось с интервью, то есть мне это очень нравилось, поэтому от интервью пришло к самой журналистике, научилась писать статьи. Это очень понравилось, я это продолжила, я буду продолжать.
Well, it started for me with interviews. I loved doing it. I understood that that's my thing for real. And then it developed into writing articles, and I intend to continue doing this.
So your play, The Hedgehog of Hope, how did the pain of the Ukrainian attacks inspire you to write that story?
Нет, такого не было. Лежит надежда, что это изначально пьеса, написанная по рассказу. И меня вдохновили ежики, которые живут у нас на огороде. По поводу Украины, я думаю, имелось в виду то, что Украина посчитала эту пьесу как историей в реальном времени, зачем-то привязала ежиков к войне в Донбассе. Это очень не поняла.
Welsh, this whole statement that Ukraine inspired it is wrong. Those were actually hedgehogs in Faina's yard that inspired her to write a play. And the play itself is based on a story. Just for some reason, Ukraine decided that this play is based on recent events, for whatever reason.
I also read you have some Taekwondo triumphants. Explain that. That's pretty awesome.
Я начала заниматься, по-моему, 8 лет. Изначально я ходила при этом на айкидо, но на стадионе тренер уехал, потому что ситуация была для этого. Все-таки война была, обстрелы, не было отопления, и он вдруг в часть города приехал. А на том стадионе было тхэквондо. Я пошла, брат тоже пошел, мы позанимались некоторое время. Я осталась вот до этого момента, все еще люблю тхэквондо, занимаюсь.
Well, when Faina was 8, she started, and initially she was doing Aikido. But then their trainer left because of the shellings, because there were infrastructure issues, there was no heating on that stadium, but the section of Taekwondo remained there. And together with her brother, they trained there, and she keeps doing it even today.
That's really awesome. That's awesome.
Круто.
What belt are you?
Да, у меня красный с черной полосой. Это почти черный.
Ага. The belt is red with black stripe. That's almost black.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really, really cool.
Круто вообще.
Спасибо.
I also learned about you on being on that Ukrainian kill list. And that was just hearing about that story, to hear you be on that list is unbelievable. Like, how did you find out that you were on that list, and what did you exactly do that drove these people to write you on that list, the Ukrainian hit list?
Ну, они сами не определились, я думаю, потому что изначально за творчество животных, потом все сменилось на то, что я враг всей Украины и чуть ли не всего мира. Переход, конечно, странный, но допустим. Но если серьезно, то это очень опасно, потому что как-никак твой адрес, все твои данные твоей семьи находятся в открытом доступе. Это нарушает все законы, и многие журналисты, они погибли из-за этого сайта. Поэтому это достаточно опасно.
Well, regarding the reasons why Ukrainians put Faina on that kill list, that's hard to say because they cannot define it themselves. Initially, it was for her creativity. Later, it changed, and she was proclaimed to be the enemy of all Ukraine and the whole world. Look at this dangerous enemy. But if to be serious, it's very dangerous to be there because your personal data, your address, your everything is there. And there are people, journalists, who were on this site who were killed.
That's not very good. It's not. That list is just absolutely disgusting. And I don't think you should ever be on that list, for telling the truth. I mean, it's a crime against humanity.
Это правда.
That's true.
Faina, what keeps you going? How do you stay so strong as like a young person your age to go through what you've been through? How do you stay so strong?
Ну, в какой-то степени, я думаю, мне помогло то, что я пошла заниматься спортом, потому что он закаляет, помогает дисциплинироваться, и именно он, по большей части, помог. Также в целом ситуация, что мы живем на войне, и у нас так-то выбора нету, нам нужно оставаться стойкими, чтобы выжить.
Well, she would say that sport helped a lot because it trains your will and your discipline, and it's a good way to keep being strong. And the other thing is that we live at war, and we have no other choice. We have to stay strong. We have real difficulties in life.
Who would you say, Faina, was your greatest role model growing up in your life, who inspired you to never give up?
Наверное, мой брат. Я думаю, именно
Her
мой брат.
brother.
Why do you look up to your brother?
Почему именно он?
Он очень умный, умеет очень многое. В принципе, он
He's
очень
very
хороший.
smart. He can do a lot of things.
Like, what would you say he's very, very good at?
Ой, он хорош в очень многом, разбирается почти в любой теме, начиная от литературы, заканчивая квантовой физикой или биологией.
He is good in lots of things. He is really profound in many subjects, from literature to quantum physics and biology.
Wow, that is very talented. That is very talented. Wow.
Это очень круто, очень талантливый человек.
Безусловно.
No doubt.
Faina, what is your area like in Ukraine now compared to in the beginning of the war, ever since Russia have come in, which you're from Lugansk, have come in there and liberated? What is it like now compared to a few years ago?
Стало гораздо лучше. Во-первых, появилась уверенность в завтрашнем дне. Это, во-первых, это самое главное, в принципе. Сам город преобразился. То есть стали строить разбитые дома, дороги. Появились памятники, связанные с СВО и ВОВ. То есть это радует, это безусловно радует.
Well, first of all, after Russia came in and took Lugansk into itself, brought it home, right? Now they are having some security in tomorrow, as she puts it. And if you look at the city itself, it became so much nicer. They built new roads, they reconstruct destroyed buildings. The city looks so much more beautiful now. They built new monuments to the heroes of the Great Patriotic War and of the SMO as well. And it's very nice to see this.
It is very incredible, Faina, to see that. As a Westerner myself, we, from the mainstream media, we just hear that Russia targets civilians. And it is very disgusting how the Western media just lies about Russia a lot. It's really unbelievable.
Ну, это правда. Будем надеяться, что все в лучшую сторону изменится и будут говорить правду.
Well, let's hope that with time this will change and these lies will go away and your media will start telling the truth eventually.
Faina, I think it's going to be a very long time before the Western media wakes up. I think right now the West is going downhill, but China and Russia, they're rising now.
В какой-то степени это правда так, но с другой люди действительно хотят узнавать о конфликте, о том, что происходит на самом деле. Есть журналисты, которые рассказывают правду на Западе. Поэтому...
Well, on one hand it's true, but there are people who want to know the truth, and there are journalists in the West who tell the truth nonetheless.
They are very, very brave. Very, very brave. And Faina, it's because of people like you. You inspire people like me and these other journalists to keep going no matter what.
Спасибо огромное.
Thank you for saying this.
Faina, out of all the interviews you've done in your show, who would you say is your dream person to interview, and what has been your favorite interview you've done in your show?
Сложно выбрать того, кто круче всех. Каждая личность, она удивительная. Но тот, с кем я хотела очень давно записать интервью, это Роджер Уотерс. Ну, мы записали. Было очень круто. Того, с кем хотела бы записать, ну, наверное, Такер Карлсон.
All these people are very interesting. They are all amazing. They are all outstanding personalities. And it was a great honor to make interviews with them. If to name someone who she already interviewed, if she had to pick, that would probably be Roger Waters. She was dreaming of taking an interview with him. It was incredible. And as for who she hasn't interviewed yet, but would like to, probably Tucker Carlson.
If you were able to interview Tucker Carlson, what question would you want to ask him the most?
Пока сложно сказать, потому что я обычно готовлю вопросы очень долго. Я изучаю почти все о человеке, чтобы очень хорошие вопросы вышли.
Well, it's hard to say at the moment because usually Faina takes a lot of time to prepare questions to a person. She studies the person in depth. So to answer this question, she has to study him real hard.
That is true. That is very true. Did you like the interview Tucker did with Putin, and what was your favorite bit in the interview Tucker did with Putin?
Мне в целом понравилось все интервью, оно было потрясающим.
She liked the whole interview. She thinks it was fantastic.
С обеих сторон все хорошо отвечали.
And that refers to both parties of this interview. They all gave great answers.
Faina, I find it very funny in the Tucker interview when Tucker did not expect Putin to give him that lecture about Russian history.
Это правда, но с другой стороны это было нужно.
That's true, but on the other hand, it was necessary.
There is a lot of people, Faina, in the West who make memes about it online. It's funny.
Ты даже не видела.
У нас тоже.
У нас, да, я видела.
Yeah, we make those memes as well.
It is pretty funny. Faina, what is the story of the Hedgehog of Hope about? What it exactly is about? And how come you like hedgehogs so much?
Ёжики, я обожаю ёжиков, они вокруг меня. Что было в пьесе, это преодоление трудностей. Маленький ёжик, он оказывается на другой стороне реки после наводнения и пытается попасть к своей матери, которая осталась на другом берегу. Он сооружает разные крылья из разных материалов, пытаясь к ней попасть. И вот именно тема преодоления трудностей.
Well, first, why hedgehogs? Because she absolutely loves them. And there are a lot of hedgehogs around her. And the Hedgehog of Hope, well, it's about overcoming. That's the story of overcoming, right? So the hedgehog ends up on the other shore of the river, and he overcomes all the difficulties to come back to his mom, who is on the opposite shore of the river. So he invents ways to get there, builds all kinds of wings for himself to manage to overcome that obstacle, the river.
That is an absolutely beautiful story. That is beautiful. That is a really... it's good, Faina, especially in today's world, when people just want to give up easily, and it's good that you write a story like that, because it encourages hope, it encourages people, to never give up. It's very good you're doing that, Faina, especially for people in your region, of the world, your area of the world.
Спасибо за приятные слова.
Thank you for these kind words. It's very nice to hear them.
Faina, when you look at Russia developing your area Lugansk, what would you say has been the most impressive thing that Russia has done to help rebuild the area when it comes to bridges, buses, and what was it like living under Ukrainian occupation before?
Так, первое, что самое крутое, наверное, опять же повторюсь, это памятники, потому что до этого их не было в таком огромном количестве, и очень радует, что историю не забывают и уважают. Это безумно радует. Каково было жить под Украиной? Многие жили в страхе, но как бы это ни звучало, постепенно привыкаешь. То есть учишься жить стрелами, учишься, как правильно себя вести в такой ситуации.
Well, as for the most prominent things that Russia did in Lugansk, Faina names the monuments that show that history is being remembered and respected, and it's awesome. As for living under Ukraine, well, it meant that people lived in fear and they learned to adapt, to understand how to behave in such conditions.
I think it's incredible, Faina, how the citizens there, especially in Lugansk and Donbass. Faina, when I started to learn about Ukraine, I was very amazed. Like when the special military operation started, I was amazed to find out that they are neo-Nazis, that the Western governments were funding neo-Nazis, and to find out for all the information, about the Donbass genocide was just mind-blowing to me. It was just awful what was going on. And the fact that the Western governments were aiding these Nazis was insane.
Ну да, к сожалению, печально видеть, как страна, по сути, падает, как уничтожается история, как расцветает нацизм. Это очень печально видеть.
Yeah, it's very sad to see how the country is falling, how the history is being destroyed, and how Nazism is thriving there.
It is a very big problem. It is, Faina, and seeing what's happening in Donbass, what the Ukrainian Nazis have done, a lot of them is very similar to what the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians, which is just awful, which is not very good.
Это правда. К
That's true.
сожалению.
Unfortunately.
Faina, Miri, is it true that Faina won an international prize, correct?
Да.
This is true.
How exactly did you win that international prize? That is very, very cool.
Ну, я была безумно рада этому, конечно же.
She was really very happy to win it.
That's very awesome, Faina. I also saw that you are working for the Writers Association, the Lugansk Writers Association. Is that correct?
Да, верно. Но она уже теперь не является, на самом деле, Россия. Ну, насколько я понимаю, да. То есть он перешел в российский, но все еще остается ЛНРовским. В общем, да.
So this Writers Association, it was Lugansk one. Now it's part of General Russia Association, but it remains an LPR association as well.
What is it like working in that association?
Замечательно. В общем-то, не скажу, что я работаю на них, то есть в том смысле я там, не знаю, даю им произведения, чтобы они их печатали. Ну, мы сотрудничаем. Вообще попадание туда было достаточно интересным. Я познакомилась с главой его, прислала ему в интернете свои рассказы. Он прочитал, сказал, что вот, напиши пьесу, мы тебя примем. Я не поняла, это шутка или нет, но пьесу написала, и меня приняли.
That was an interesting thing, how she joined it. Because she met the head of this association and sent him her stories through the internet, right? And he said, well, write a play and we'll accept you into the association. And she wasn't sure whether it was a joke or not, but she wrote the play and was accepted. So it's not like she works for them, but they cooperate.
That's really, really cool. They sound very, very good. They sound very respectful to you, especially with the hard work that you do, Faina.
Это правда. Спасибо огромное.
That's true. Thank you very much.
Faina, what other accomplishments have you done with your writing that has been acknowledged by people, like in Russia or in Eastern Ukraine?
Ну, достаточно много выигранных конкурсов, например, для пьес автора на сцену, шорт-лист, потом рассказы печатали, проводили на многие языки. По поводу книг сейчас уже есть 3 романа. Один издан и напечатан во Франции. Потом несколько сборников также есть. И на французском один сборник.
She has won quite a lot of competitions. Her plays are published. Many of her stories are translated. 3 novels are published. One of them is published in France. Then there are several collections of her stories, one of which is also in French. So that's quite a lot.
Faina, I also saw you when you were writing a letter to the French president. You were saying that you really like French, culture and like philosophy and stuff. What would you say is your favorite, famous French story of all time that you really like, or your favorite French writer that you really admire?
Сложный выбор, много достаточно любимых произведений, авторов. Ну, самый любимый, наверное, Сент-Экзюпери, «Маленький принц».
Well, it's a very difficult choice because there are many writers, many stories that she likes, but if she had to choose, that would probably be Exupéry, Little Prince.
He's very interesting. I'm not very knowledgeable on French writers, but France has produced a lot of famous writers around the world, and a lot of has done a lot of for philosophical stuff, just like how Russia throughout its history has a lot of rich writers and a lot of rich poets.
Это правда.
Yeah, that's true.
В каждой стране очень много великой литературы.
Well, there is great literature produced by all countries.
Faina, in Wales, my country, a lot of people say that my country, Wales, have a lot of famous poets. You might have heard that before. Like a lot of Welsh people have a lot of, we get like, I know people call us sheep, which is funny. I mean, it's a funny nickname they call us, but but a lot of, people give Wales, a lot of people say a lot of famous poets come from Wales too, and it's very interesting. Fine, I definitely recommend you to look up Welsh literature too.
Хорошо, обязательно.
Okay, she'll look into that.
Fine, what do you think about the name of Wales for the country's name? Because a lot of people say that the Welsh, I know it's a bit embarrassing, but a lot of people say that Wales's name is named after a fish, which is a bit...
Ну, по мне звучит красиво.
Look, Welsh, in Russian, I'll just add from myself, it's Wales, and it sounds very beautiful. That's what Faina says.
Wow.
Wales is a beautiful name.
It is very beautiful. It is very beautiful. My country, like Russia, we've got a very unique history, and I think Russian language and Welsh language is a very beautiful. And, especially when Wales have suffered a lot under the monarchy, which has done, the British monarchy, which has done a lot of evil to the world and a lot of things, especially to Russia. We can understand, because, yeah, pretty much.
К сожалению, да.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true.
So, Faina, when you were growing up in Lugansk, like hearing that story of you having to deal with all of those war crimes, like all of the bombs going across your head, all the bomb, and the shelling you had to deal with. Can you explain to me, what horrific events you've also dealt with, when growing up in Lugansk, the horrors that you've had to endure there too, others?
Ну, наверное, вот самое начало войны 14 года, тогда в целом были сложные времена в Луганске, потому что, не было воды, не было еды. Приходилось, например, нам ходить к колонке, набирать воду в ведра. Все это под обстрелами, пешком 2 километра, потому что, разумеется, автобусы не ходили. Также, например, нужно было стоять огромные очереди, чтобы купить хлеб, при условии, что он был и были деньги. Нам повезло вообще, потому что у нас бабушка собирала запасы, поэтому были крупы. Но вот остальным не особо повезло.
Well, the worst was probably in 2014, because Lugansk was sieged, and they didn't have water, they didn't have food. So they had to walk, because buses wouldn't go, right? So they had to walk 2 kilometers to get water from springs. They had huge lines just to buy bread, provided you had money, and all that, and the shellings. They were lucky because their grandmother was collecting food, so they had a lot of stuff to cook from already, because she was collecting that, preparing. But for other people, it was very difficult.
I don't think, Faina, that you should ever have to grow up with something like that, like growing up, dealing with that. It's not very good. So, Faina, what is your thoughts on the war? Do you reckon that we are going to get to a ceasefire between Russia or Ukraine, or no?
Ой.
Будет у нас сложение оружия, прекращение огня?
Ну, такое в теории возможно, но это буквально пальцем в небо указывать. Все что угодно.
In theory, everything's possible, but it's really hard to predict.
It is very, very hard to predict. Faina, I also saw that RT had done a documentary on you, and that's absolutely cool to see them do a documentary of you. What would you say, Faina, was your favorite bit of that documentary that you really liked the most?
Весь фильм потрясающий. Самое крутое, наверное, когда озвучивали моменты из моих произведений. Это прям очень круто вышло, потрясающе. Мне очень понравилось.
The whole film is really great. She absolutely loved it. And she probably likes the most how they voiced over different bits from her stories.
What would you say was the most emotional bit from the documentary that got to you most emotionally from watching it, Faina?
Наверное, в целом интервью у людей о миротворце, как рассказывают об этом, кто стоит за ним. Вот именно эти моменты.
Probably the moments where all these people give interviews about Mirotvorets, the peacemaker, the skill list, how they speak about it.
That's very cool. It's very cool, Faina, to see that you got a documentary from RT News. That's absolutely wonderful, and you definitely deserve that, you know.
Спасибо огромное.
Thank you very much.
Faina, I also am going to say I'm very impressed with Maria too. I think Maria, especially what she does, helping people like you do the translation, where she does the translation for you. I think Maria is absolutely fantastic, and I think she's one of the best translators out there. I really respect her, what she's doing. I really think she's being a true patriot to her country and really doing a good job of it.
Thank you, Welsh. Сейчас он сказал, что Маша норм такой переводчик.
Хороший переводчик.
Yeah, Masha is okay translator, yeah.
No, you're a good translator, Marie. You're a very good translator. You are.
Thank you.
Okay, before we finish up, what is the last thing you would like to say, Faina? Is there anything else you would like to say?
Ну, в первую очередь пожелать мира, во вторую очередь это проверять все новости, свое мнение строить не на одном источнике, а на совершенно разных. То есть чуть более глубинно изучать эту тему, мне кажется, если действительно это интересно.
Well, the first thing to say is to wish peace. And the second thing is also very important. Don't trust just one source of information. Study everything. Look deeper. Compare sources of information before you make any conclusion on anything.
Well, thank you, Faina. It was an absolute pleasure to have you. Where can people find you?
У меня есть YouTube-канал, есть ВКонтакте, Facebook, Telegram-каналы, которые я веду активно.
Faina has a YouTube channel, VK, Facebook, and Telegram channels where she's very active.
Well, thank you very much, Faina. It was an absolute pleasure to have you, especially you too, Maria. Thank you for doing the translation for her. You were fantastic too. So you, Faina. I just want to say to everybody, please go and check Faina's documentary out. RT News called Faina's Story. It's absolutely wonderful. Also, please, everyone, go check out Faina's channel, especially for a young girl her age. She's very talented. She's got a very good future ahead of her. She's got a lot of big names. Make sure you go check out her YouTube channel. Go sub to it. Go give her all the respect she deserves, likes, everything. And yeah, and she's a very brave young girl, very talented. I wish her all the best. God bless you too.
Спасибо огромное, что позвали. Была рада пообщаться.
Thank you for inviting. It was great to talk to you.
Well, I just want to say to everyone, thank you for joining the Welsh Republic podcast, episode 167 today. Take care, everybody. God bless you all. Stay safe.